there are far too many people in the world that are told there's nothing we can do. And the thing is, there's always something we can do. It might not be a therapeutic something. It might not be that there's another medical option, but there's always something we can do, from giving patients hope, from listening to patients, from understanding, what lies ahead for them given these options. There's always something that we can do with patients no matter what. My hope is that the EBHF has encouraged you to question, that the EBHF has allowed you to realize that not everything you read and not everything you see is true. And that's hard to believe at first glance, that, what I see printed in journals, what I see printed in textbooks, this should be the truth. After all, when you go to school in grade 1 and grade 2 and grade 3, who would think that you'd open up a textbook or reader or whatever term you use? Who would think you'd open up something in grade 2 and say, this is not true. This is not the truth. But that is part of our world, and that is part of the challenge we have as hair specialists, to realize that not everything is accurate. And so we do need to have this healthy skepticism. And it's not to approach the literature and everything we read as, oh, that's so nice, that's so interesting. Oh, look at this new piece of information, that's so nice, so lovely. But to approach it from a point of view of, this is interesting. I'm glad this has been produced for the world. Does this make sense? Is this reasonable? Do I believe this? What would make me believe it? Do we need more data? To have that skepticism will serve you well. The most powerful therapeutic tool that you have of everything is the ability to listen. And that probably is the number one treatment that you can offer to a patient. Well above oral minoxidil and finasteride and hydroxychloroquine and tofacitinib and ruxolitinib. It's that ability to listen that is just so powerful. And as time goes on in my own practice, I realize that, wow, that is so incredible. But I once had a patient with very advanced alopecia areata, alopecia universalis, for long standing. And it was clear that it was so long-standing that no treatment would work, because it had well exceeded 40 years. And after each visit, the patient would say, thank you so much for your time today. Shall I see you next year at the same time? And my feeling was, see you next year. That there is something so important beyond what your treatments can offer. And I think that's really important to remember. That you have tremendous therapies that you can offer that extend beyond what you can write on a prescription pad, or beyond what treatments you can recommend. And in the same token, remember that your words really do matter. And that works both ways. That some of your words can hurt and some of your words can heal. And some of your words will be remembered by patients for a long, long time. And patients may say dozens and dozens of years later, I remember when I was diagnosed with lichen planopilaris, or I remember when I was diagnosed with frontal fibrosing alopecia, finally, that specialist said to me, I'll never forget, blah, blah, blah. And remember, that can work both ways. The specialist said this, and it was hurtful. The specialist said this, and it was healing. So our words really are powerful. And so we have to choose our words really, really carefully because they do live with the patient a long, long time. They may not even remember who you were. And remember that people are all so different. Hope the EBHF has shown you that people respond differently to medications. Some people respond really well. Some people don't respond at all. Some people get side effects with low doses. Some people don't get any side effects, even with high doses. We're all so different. I hope the EBHF showed you that, people are so different in how hair matters to them. And for some people, hair matters tremendously. We saw when we talked about cancer that up to 8% of patients will refuse chemotherapy because they do not want to lose hair. That to them, hair and what it provides them in terms of their identity is so fundamentally important that they cannot lose that. I hope the EBHF showed you that not everyone's going to do what you suggest. Kind of disappointing, isn't it? We know that about half of patients are going to do something different than what you recommended. So that's really important to remember. When patients come back to see you and they're not quite doing as well as you hoped, it's important to remember that 1 out of every 2 people are doing something different than you have in your chart. It says in your chart they're going to use minoxidil, 1.25 milligrams daily. Remember, there's a 50-50 chance that they are using minoxidil, 1.25 milligrams daily. So remember that and be prepared for that. And remember that that's just human. And so without imposing any sort of a judgment, realizing that, some of my patients, when they're given minoxidil, they like to take it daily. Some are a little, apprehensive. They take it less often. How do you take your minoxidil? Remember, those are called normalizing statements. Those can be so powerful because a patient might feel comfortable saying, well, for me, I take it 3 times a week. Really? 3 times a week? Yeah. 3 times a week, most weeks. But some weeks, 2 times a week. And sometimes once a week. But mostly 3 times a week. So give patients that freedom to realize that they're just human. And you'll realize that, wow, it's incredible. Not everyone does exactly what you say.